2004, I was approached by one of the paediatricians at the JR, and she asked if I would volunteer to go to South Africa with her as part of Chiva South Africa. And so began my love affair with South Africa. And I've been going now, well, since 2004. And what we do is we do mentoring and teaching of staff in South Africa, because here in the UK we have been treating children for HIV just that bit longer than they have in South Africa. So in 2004, the government in South Africa said, you know, they would start providing treatment for children, but people didn't know how to treat them. They didn't know how many tablets to give them. So I went as part of a team to support the staff around that. And since then, the program has expanded, and we're now working with adolescents because the children who started on treatment are living well, and they're now becoming teenagers, so there's all the issues around living with HIV and being a teenager. But just to illustrate, this was a picture of me on my first trip. My husband said to me, whatever you do, don't you dare bring home a baby. So, and I wanted to steal a baby, but anyway, I didn't. But I want to tell you about two cases. This little girl, I don't know if you can see her very well, but this was in KwaZulu-Natal, and I saw this little girl in a clinic. Her mother had brought her in to get her started on treatment for HIV. And there was just something about this little girl that made me want to take a photograph of her, and I hesitated to ask if I could take her picture. Anyway, in the end I just thought, no, I'm just going to do it. So I asked the mum, and she said, no, please, take a picture. And I went back to that same hospital 6 months later. That little girl was started on treatment, okay? But I went back 6 months later, and sadly, she died because it was too late for her. And the mother came to the hospital specially to see me because she remembered I'd taken a photograph of her little girl, and that was the last photo that was ever taken of her. And fortunately, I had the photo. I'd taken some other photos as well of her, and I had the photos. So I thought, well, you know, I made a tiny, tiny difference there. And then there was this family, this mum, and this little girl, who also came into clinic. Mum wasn't very well herself, but had just started on treatment. The little girl, she was nearly 3 years old, 2.5 to 3 years old. She couldn't walk, she couldn't stand because of the HIV. She hadn't started speaking, she was floppy, she was a really sick little girl. And the good news about her was that we started her on treatment, and when I went back a year later, they happened to be in the clinic, and the mum came running up to me and she said, look at my little girl. And I saw this little girl running up and down the corridor. I mean, she was a real success story. And then I have a lovely photo of one of the nurses that I mentored when I was there. She has since then set up an adolescent clinic, and we're still in contact regularly. So now the program has actually expanded from, we started in KwaZulu-Natal, now we're working in Northwest Province and also in Eastern Cape. And when we first went out to South Africa, there were, I think, 3,000 children on treatment, and now there's over 50,000 children living well on treatment for HIV. And I don't know if you know, but the prevention of mother-to-child transmission has been reduced dramatically in South Africa over the last few years. And certainly the hospital that I've been working in most recently in Klerksdorp in Northwest Province, they've got the percentage down to 3%, which is fantastic. We've got it in this country down to less than 1%. So I keep saying to them, keep doing what you're doing, because I know you can get it just as, you know, as good as we've got in the UK. So it's very, I go twice a year. I'd go more if my husband would let me, but I think he'd divorce me if I went more times than that. And although I go to teach there, I learn far more, I think, than I actually teach. So the money that you donate tonight will go towards keeping that program going. We want to get into every province in South Africa, and hopefully if we can get it right in South Africa, then we can start to expand out to other African countries, because I'm sure you're aware South Africa was a little bit behind to begin with when it came to HIV treatment, and countries like Uganda and Kenya were really getting on board with it. But now South Africa is catching up, and I think they can be the most fantastic model.